The feminist movement. The feminist movement of the 1960s was part of the second wave in the overall women's rights movement, aiming to address the inherent discrimination of women in all aspects of their life, from jobs to their reproductive rights. As a woman in the 60s, one would have little freedom in their life. It was expected that all young girls would grow up and marry as soon as possible, have children, and live the life of a homemaker. According to Stephanie Kuntz of the New York Times, wives bore the full load of housekeeping and childcare, spending an average of 55 hours a week on domestic chores. As such, only 38% of American women worked, and at that time were limited to jobs such as teaching, nursing, or becoming secretaries, according to Tivana.org. Women had little access to professional careers and were often discouraged to pursue them. In one example from author Gail Collins, a medical school dean declared, "Hell yes, we have a quota. We do keep women out when we can. We don't want them here, and they don't want them anywhere else either, whether or not they'll admit it." In the workplace, women are paid roughly 59 cents to every dollar men were paying, according to payequality.org. This means that the work done by women was deemed less valuable as the work done by men. The unequal pay was not only stigmatizing women as less valuable than men, but it also made it increasingly more difficult for women to become independent from men. Furthermore, women were often also overlooked for promotion because it was expected of them to start a family and then have children. After this, they were assumed to want to quit so they could take care of their new family and were often not promoted for fear of having to get someone else to do their job anyways. This was a prejudice against women that prevented them from gaining power in the workplace. Women would also be fired after becoming pregnant due to similar reasons, and this made it difficult for new mothers to keep their jobs after they had a child. The general pushback from society sparked a series of events to stop discrimination of women. First off, through Esther Peterson's effort as the director of the Women's Bureau of the Department of Labor, she convinced President Kennedy to focus on issues of discrimination of women. He listened and created the Commission on Status of Women in 1961, making Eleanor Roosevelt the chair. Next, in 1963, distinguished writer Betty Friedan published her famous book, The Feminist Mystique. In this controversial book, Friedan explored the feeling of unfulfillment that many homemakers face despite their seemingly perfect children and family. She stirred up frustrations and anger that most women had felt, channeling their emotions into the second wave of the feminist movement. Later, in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed, which prohibited workplace discrimination based on sex, race, religion, and national origin. However, the addition of sex was intended to repeal the bill, but the attempts backfired and the act passed. Then the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission was formed to look on issues of discrimination. But with only one woman in the agency, little was changed, and Betty Friedan, along with other feminists, created their own organization, the National Organization for Women, or NOW. While the left staged protests against sexism in the media and demonstrations at Miss America, NOW focused on appealing to all types of women, hoping to gain more followers. The movement drew inspiration from the civil rights movement, where black women often played a key role in the movement, but were often shut down or shut out of leadership roles, according to Tivana.org. However, even within the women's movement, they were divided amongst the old and the young, the left and the right, in their approaches to equality. Generally, the left was associated with the bra-burning, man-hitting hippies, who were more loud in their actions than conservative counterparts. However, even though there were differences, the women continued to fight when the Equal Rights Amendment was reintroduced in 1972. The women's organizations raised money, marched, had house meetings, walkathons, and various events, and formed large donations to help support and pass the Equal Rights Amendment. Sadly, the amendment did not pass because it was not approved during the ratification process, but women still continued to fight for their rights. Slowly, women began speaking out about sexual harassment and illegal abortions. Sharing their reasoning behind abortions and the tragic nature of rape led to Roe v. Wade, or the legalization of abortions. Also, sexual harassment became defined as a crime and a violation of women's rights. Women's needs in terms of their reproductive rights became more centered on them rather than the previous system, which ignored their needs. The activists, like Betty Friedan, Gloria Steinman, and Germaine Geer, and many other women, all fought for their aspects of their life that women take for granted today. Now, going to college and having a professional degree is all acceptable and even encouraged. However, in the 90s, women would have struggled to even attend college. Also, women have become more protected in the labor fields, and more labor laws have been put in place to protect them from inequality based on the fact they've become mothers. Wrongful termination laws have made it illegal to fire women due to pregnancy, and many companies have included maternity leave, which allow mothers to not have to divide their time between work and their young children during such an important development time. Women have also gained more power and respect in fields including business, medical, STEM, and political. This has all allowed women to gain independence and give voice to the 50% of the population that had previously been overlooked. Many fields that had been previously male-dominated saw an increase in females. Despite the huge leap and bounds the feminist movement had made, there are still large gaps between the way women and men were treated. In America, we are still advocating for equal pay. Currently, women make 78 to 82 cents to every dollar a man would make doing the same job, according to Wikipedia. Outside of the workplace, the modern feminist movement is also stressing on how women are perceived in the media. According to Vox, women's marches in January had over 1 million people marching for women's rights and treatments. Although many women embrace the feminist movement, critics such as Kathy Young of the Boston Globe argue that there are many who feel like the feminist movement is too aggressive and tackle issues such as pay gap unnecessarily. Young points out how people believe issues such as wage gap only occur as a result of the majority of women choosing to devote more energy towards family life. Despite these differences, most people want to continue to work towards equality for all people regardless of sex. While as a nation we are making large strides towards equality, we are still tackling issues such as sexualization, harassment, and other prejudices which limit women and their abilities to flourish in the world. Thank you.